So we've got the policy and we've got the problem identified. What about the people to actually do this job?
Absolutely right. And I mean, I welcome this announcement, but what officer is going to attend these crimes? Of course, so many frontline roles now are occupied with officers who've just come through their training or might only have a year or two in service, and this is very much an issue. And of course, to properly investigate a burglary, you don't only go to the house that's been broken into, you knock next door. And you go next door but one, and you also go over the road, and you say to anybody, did you see anything? Did you hear anything? Have you looked in your garden in the last day or two? Have you got any CCTV? Did you have a relative visiting yesterday who might have a dash cam in their car? And so it goes, because if you're going to investigate something, investigate it properly.
Time-consuming.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And Peter, most people, including myself, to be honest, when I saw that headline, were thinking, are we supposed to be grateful that if we get burgled, the police will turn up? I mean, how did we get to that place where that is a headline that we're all discussing today?
How long have we got to discuss the demise of modern policing? Because sadly, in the last 20 years, its reputation, in many regards rightfully so, has absolutely hit rock bottom, because police has got so distracted in recent years by trying to be everything to everyone, instead of actually sticking to the core principles of policing, which were written nearly 200 years ago by Sir Robert Peel and are as apt and as appropriate today as they were all those years ago.
Right. Has the problem been the investigative arm, if you like, CID in particular? You've now got so many things you've got to undertake. White-collar crime, very technical fraud. You've got anti-terror crime. You've got organised crime coming in from abroad. They're actually dealing with the bread and butter stuff, someone might have said, of burglary and theft, is right down the end of the scale for you.
Well, so many senior officers who have climbed that greasy pole of promotion and now occupy the highest ranks have been responsible in the last 20 years for downgrading the role of the local CID, the local detectives, because they thought it was a little bit elitist, and they didn't like that.
Because you could wear a suit instead of your uniform and so on.
Exactly,
yeah.
or jeans and a bomber jacket if you were on the local burglary squad. Right. How I pine for those days. But, you know, it's such a shame that this expertise has been lost. And just to focus a moment, if we may, on going to a burglary, you know, these officers that attend there, they've got to understand what they're looking for. A shoe mark, for example, in the garden, on a floor, on a tile. And then how do they preserve that or photograph it so that it's of evidential value for a forensic scientist to compare maybe to a shoe mark that was found 3 weeks ago at another burglary? And so it goes on. Yeah. Points of entry, tools used to go in, and also issuing crime prevention advice. Right. Because that's all a part of it. I know there are many, many retired detectives, recently retired, who would come back to investigate these burglaries at a fraction of the cost of what they were previously paid, because they're now on their pensions. Yeah. They could come back, they've got more experience than you could dream of, and they could possibly lead or shadow or work alongside younger, less experienced officers, because it's no point going to a burglary unless you'll investigate it properly.
Right. And Peter, I don't know if this is small print in the quote from the National Police Chiefs Council, but I wondered if you could enlighten us, because what that statement says was that Chief Constables will work to ensure the approach is implemented, this is the small print, as soon as practically possible. When's that?
Well, time waits for no man, and I'm not getting any younger. I just hope that I get to see this implemented properly, and that burglary detection rates go up and more burglars go to jail.
Do you fancy going back on the job?
In a heartbeat.
Really?
I'd rather be...
Even with all the telework that you do?
I'd rather be properly investigating domestic burglaries or residential burglaries this afternoon than, with all due respect, sitting in your studio.